The space station called Kepler-7 was not a beautiful place. It floated at the edge of known space, far from the rich planets and shining cities of the inner worlds. The people who lived here were poor. They worked hard jobs. They fixed old ships. They sold cheap food. They survived. Danny Park had lived on Kepler-7 for 12 years. He came here when he was 20 years old, running away from a life that had given him nothing but pain. He had no family left. He had no money. But he had two things that kept him alive. He had his hands, which could fix anything. And he had his heart, which could not ignore broken things. His repair shop sat between a noodle stand and a weapons store. The sign above his door was old and dirty. It said, "Danny's Repairs," in faded letters. The shop was small. The walls were covered with tools. The floor was covered with parts from 100 different machines. It smelled like oil and metal and hard work. Danny was working on a broken water pump when the door opened. He did not look up at first. Customers came and went all day. Most of them wanted cheap fixes for cheap machines. Most of them complained about his prices, even though his prices were the lowest on the station. But this customer was different. Danny heard the strange sound first. It was a dragging sound, like something heavy being pulled across the floor. Then he heard the sparks. Electric pops and cracks. The smell of burning circuits filled the air. Danny looked up and saw something he would never forget. A hooded figure stood in his doorway. The figure was tall and thin, wrapped in a gray cloak that hid everything. But Danny did not care about the figure. He cared about what the figure was dragging. It was a droid. But it was not like any droid Danny had ever seen. The droid was beautiful, even in its broken state. Its body was made of silver metal that seemed to glow from inside. Its joints were made of something that looked like crystal. Strange symbols were carved into its chest, and these symbols still shimmered with faint light even though the droid was clearly dying. Smoke rose from holes in its body. Sparks flew from torn wires. One of its arms was missing completely. Its legs were bent at wrong angles. Its face, which was smooth and almost human, was cracked down the middle. The droid's eyes were dim blue lights that flickered weakly. Those eyes looked at Danny with something that made his chest tight. Those eyes looked afraid. "Please," the hooded figure said. The voice was strange and rough, like someone who had not spoken in a long time. "Can you repair it?" Danny walked slowly toward the droid. He knelt down beside it and let his trained eyes move over the damage. He had fixed thousands of machines in his life. He had seen bad damage before, but this was different. This was not just damage. This was destruction. Someone had tried very hard to kill this droid. The burns on its body came from plasma weapons. Military grade, expensive and deadly. The cuts in its metal came from energy blades, the kind that Imperial soldiers carried. Its power core was cracked. Its central processor was hanging by a single wire. By all logic, this droid should be dead. It should be scrap metal. It should be impossible to fix. But those blue eyes kept flickering, kept fighting, kept hoping. "This is very advanced technology," Danny said quietly. "These components are Imperial class. Maybe even higher. I've never seen anything like this." "Name your price," the hooded figure said quickly. "I will pay anything. Credits, gold, information, whatever you want." Danny did not answer right away. He was still looking at the droid's eyes. He was thinking about all the broken things he had fixed in his life. He was thinking about how every machine, no matter how damaged, still wanted to live, still wanted to work, still wanted to be whole. He thought about himself 12 years ago. Broken, damaged, alone. Someone had helped him then. A stranger had given him food and a place to sleep. That stranger had asked for nothing in return. That small kindness had saved Danny's life. "No charge," Danny said. The hooded figure went very still. "What? I said no charge. Danny stood up and began gathering his tools. Whoever did this to her wanted her dead. That is reason enough for me to bring her back. You do not understand what you are saying. This is not a simple machine. This is. I do not care what she is. Danny interrupted. I care that she is broken. I care that she is scared. I care that someone tried to murder her and almost succeeded. That is all I need to know. The hooded figure stood in silence for a long moment. Danny could not see the face under the hood. He could not tell if the figure was human or alien. He did not care about that either. Finally, the figure nodded once. Just a small movement of the head. Then the figure turned and walked out of the shop, disappearing into the crowded streets of Kepler 7. Danny locked the door. He turned off the open sign. He pushed aside all his other work. Then he carried the broken droid to his best workbench and laid her down gently. Okay, he said softly, talking to the droid even though he knew she probably could not hear him. Let us see what we can do. He worked through the evening. He worked through the night. He did not eat. He did not sleep. He did not stop. The damage was worse than he had first thought. Every time he fixed one problem, he found 3 more. The droid's systems were so complex that he had to guess at many things. He made mistakes. He had to undo his work and start again. His hands cramped. His eyes burned. His back ached Dot, but he did not stop Dot because those blue eyes kept flickering. Kept fighting. Kept hoping Dot at some point in the deep night. Danny realized he was talking to the droid, telling her stories, telling her about his life, telling her that everything would be okay. He did not know if she could hear him. He did not know if it mattered. But it felt right. It felt like the thing a friend would do. Dot by the time the first light of morning came through his dirty window. Danny had replaced 17 components. He had rerouted her entire power system. He had rebuilt her processor from parts that should not have worked together. He had done something that the best engineers in the galaxy would have called impossible. And he had done it for free, for a stranger, because that was simply who Danny Park was. The morning sun came through the window and fell across Danny's face. He had fallen asleep at his workbench, his head resting on his arms, his tools scattered around him. His whole body hurt. His fingers were cut and burned from working with hot metal and sharp wires. He had not slept more than 2 hours, but he woke up with a smile on his face, because he knew, even before he opened his eyes, that he had done it. The droid lay on the workbench, still and silent. But she was different now. The cracks in her face were sealed with a special compound that Danny had made himself. Her missing arm was replaced with a temporary limb that he had built from spare parts. It was not pretty, but it worked. Her chest rose and fell slowly as her new power core pumped energy through her. Repaired systems. Danny sat up and stretched his sore muscles. He looked at the droid and waited. Her systems needed time to restart. Her processor needed time to rebuild her memory and personality. It could take minutes. It could take hours. Danny did not mind waiting. He made himself a cup of cheap coffee and sat down in his old chair. He watched the droid like a father watching over a sick child. He thought about all the work he had done during the night. He thought about how many times he had almost failed. He thought about how many times he had wanted to give up, but kept going anyway. 30 minutes passed. Then an hour. Danny finished his coffee and made another cup. He started to worry. Maybe he had made a mistake. Maybe the damage was too deep. Maybe the droid would never wake up. Then the droid's eyes opened. Danny dropped his coffee cup. It shattered on the floor, but he did not care. He was too busy staring at the droid's eyes, because they were not blue anymore. They were gold. Bright, beautiful gold, like 2 small suns glowing in her silver face. The droid sat up slowly. Her movements were careful, like someone testing their body after a long illness. She looked at her hands. She moved her fingers one by one. She turned her head from side to side. She looked down at her new arm, the ugly temporary one that Danny had built, and she touched it gently. "Systems restored," she said. Her voice was soft and musical, like bells ringing in the distance. "All primary functions are operational. Secondary functions are at 60%. Memory is intact. I am alive." She looked at Danny. Her golden eyes were full of confusion and wonder, and something that looked very much like tears, even though droids could not cry. "How is this possible?" she asked. "My damage was fatal. My core was destroyed. I should not exist anymore." Danny shrugged and smiled. "You are welcome." The droid tilted her head, studying him. "You repaired me. That is what I do. I fix things. But my technology is far beyond anything in this sector. My components are not available on any market. My programming is classified at the highest Imperial level. No ordinary mechanic should be able to even understand my systems, let alone repair them." Danny laughed softly. "I am not ordinary. I am stubborn. There is a difference." He walked closer to her and held out his hand. "My name is Danny Park. What is your name?" The droid looked at his hand for a moment. Then she reached out and took it. Her metal fingers were surprisingly warm. "I am designated Royal Protocol Unit 7, but my companions call me Sira." "Sira," Danny repeated. "That is a nice name. It suits you." Sira stood up from the workbench. She was tall, almost a head taller than Danny. She moved with a grace that seemed impossible for a machine. Every step was smooth. Every gesture was elegant. She looked around the small repair shop with her golden eyes, taking in every detail. "This place is very small," she said, "and very dirty, and very far from anywhere important." "Thank you for noticing," Danny said with a dry smile. "I did not mean to offend. I am simply confused. Why would someone with your skill be here? You could work for any corporation in the galaxy. You could work for the Empire itself. You could be rich and famous." Danny's smile faded a little. "I like it here. The people are honest. The work is simple. Nobody asks questions they do not want answered." Sira watched him carefully. Her golden eyes seemed to see more than just his face. They seemed to see into his heart. "You have suffered," she said quietly. "I can see it in the way you hold yourself. I can hear it in your voice. You came here to hide from something." Danny turned away and started cleaning up the broken coffee cup. "We all have our stories. Mine is not important. What is important is that you are fixed now. You can go back to wherever you came from." "I cannot go back," Sira said. "Not yet. The people who tried to destroy me are still looking for me. If I leave this station, they will find me and finish what they started." Danny stopped cleaning. "Who tried to destroy you, Sira? And why?" Sira was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was heavy with sadness and fear. "I am the personal attendant of Princess Yuna of the Imperial House. I have served her since the day I was created, 15 years ago. She's like a sister to me. She trusts me with all her secrets. She trusts me with her life." Danny's blood went cold. "The Imperial House? As in, the family that rules the Galactic Empire?" "Yes, the empire that controls 400 billion people across 10,000 worlds?" "Yes." Danny sat down heavily. His legs did not feel strong enough to hold him anymore. "Oh no," Sira continued. 3 days ago, Princess Yuna gave me a secret mission. I was carrying data that proved a terrible conspiracy. 3 members of the High Council were planning to kill the Emperor and take the throne for themselves. I had evidence of their meetings, their plans, their crimes. I was bringing this evidence to the Imperial fleet when assassins attacked my ship. They wanted to destroy the evidence. Yes, they killed my escort. They destroyed my transport. They damaged me so badly that I should have died. But I escaped. I do not know how. I remember falling. I remember pain. I remember thinking that I had failed the princess. Then everything went dark. She looked at Danny with those golden eyes full of gratitude. Then I woke up here, repaired, alive, because of you. Danny ran his hands through his hair. His heart was beating very fast. He was just a mechanic. He fixed water pumps and broken engines and cheap robots. He was not supposed to be involved in imperial politics. He was not supposed to be holding the fate of billions in his hands. But here he was. And there was nothing he could do about it now. The data you were carrying, he said slowly. Is it still inside you? Sierra nodded. Yes, it is stored in my deepest memory core. The assassins damaged me badly, but they did not reach that core. The evidence is safe. Then, we need to get it to someone who can use it. We need to contact the Empire. We need to tell them what happened. Sierra shook her head. We cannot. The traitors have spies everywhere. Any message I send could be intercepted. Any ship I board could be attacked. The only safe way is to deliver the evidence in person. But I cannot travel while the assassins are hunting me. Danny stood up and walked to his window. He looked out at the crowded streets of Kepler 7 and all the ordinary people living their ordinary lives. None of them knew that a royal droid was hiding in a repair shop. None of them knew that the fate of the galaxy might depend on what happened next. Then we wait, Danny said finally. We wait until it is safe. And while we wait, I will protect you. Sierra came to stand beside him. Why? You do not know me. You owe me nothing. Why would you risk your life for a machine? Danny smiled sadly. Because someone helped me once when I was broken and alone. They did not ask for anything in return. They just helped because it was the right thing to do. I have been trying to repay that kindness ever since. He looked at Sierra with warm eyes. Besides, you are not just a machine. You are alive. You have memories and feelings and fears. That makes you a person in my book. And I do not abandon people who need help. Sierra stared at him for a long time. Then she did something that surprised them both. She smiled. A real, genuine smile that made her silver face shine like starlight. You are a strange human. Danny Park, she said. I get that a lot, Danny replied. And for the first time since her creation, Sierra laughed. 3 days passed on Station Kepler 7. They were quiet days. Peaceful days. Danny kept his shop closed and told people he was sick. He did not want visitors. He did not want questions. He wanted to keep Sierra safe until they could figure out what to do. During those 3 days, Danny learned many things about Sierra. He learned that she loved to read and had thousands of books stored in her memory. He learned that she could sing in 20 different languages. He learned that she was afraid of the dark, even though she was a machine and did not need light to see. He learned that she missed Princess Yuna very much and worried about her every moment. Sierra learned things about Danny too. She learned that he had grown up on a poor planet called New Kansas. She learned that his parents had died when he was young and that he had raised himself on the streets. She learned that he had a gift for machines that no one could explain. She learned that he had come to Kepler 7 because it was the only place where nobody asked about his past. They talked for hours. They shared meals together, even though Sierra did not need to eat. They played card games and chess and a strange alien game that Sierra taught him. They became friends. Real friends, the kind that Danny had not had in many years. On the morning of the 4th day, everything changed. Danny was making breakfast when Sierra suddenly stopped moving. Her golden eyes went wide. Her whole body became stiff. She looked like a statue made of silver. "Sira?" Danny put down his cooking pan and walked toward her. "What is wrong?" "Ships," Sira whispered. "I can feel their signals. Many ships. Coming here. Coming fast." Danny ran to the window and looked up at the sky. At first, he saw nothing but the usual gray clouds that cover Kepler-7. Then the clouds began to move. They swirled and parted like curtains being pushed aside. And through the gap, Danny saw something that made his heart stop. A ship was coming down through the atmosphere. But it was not just any ship. It was an Imperial carrier, one of the biggest and most powerful vessels in the galaxy. It was black as night and shaped like a giant arrow. It was so large that it blocked out the sun. Its shadow fell across the station like a blanket of darkness all around Danny. People started to scream. They ran through the streets in panic. They knew what that ship meant. Imperial carriers did not come to places like Kepler-7, not unless something very bad was about to happen. "They found us," Sarah said. Her voice was flat and dead. "The traitors found us. They sent the Imperial fleet to kill us." "No," Danny said, shaking his head. "No, that cannot be right. If the traitors controlled that ship, they would have just bombed the station from space. They would not risk coming down in person. Then who is it?" Danny did not have an answer. He watched as the massive carrier descended lower and lower. Landing platforms extended from its belly like metal fingers reaching down to grab the station. The whole building shook as the ship touched down somewhere nearby. Then the soldiers came. Danny had seen soldiers before. Kepler-7 had its share of mercenaries and private guards and retired military men. But he had never seen anything like these soldiers. They marched down the main street in perfect formation. Their armor was black as the ship they came from, polished so bright that it reflected the light like mirrors. They carried energy lances that hummed with deadly power. They moved like machines, every step exactly the same as the step before. There were 20 of them, 30, 50. Danny stopped counting. They spread out through the station, surrounding every building, blocking every street. The people of Kepler-7 hid in their homes and watched through their windows with terrified eyes. And then the soldiers came for Danny's shop. Danny watched them approach. 10 soldiers surrounded his front door. 10 more covered the back. The rest formed a circle around the whole building, their weapons ready, their faces hidden behind black helmets. "Danny," Sira said quietly, "you should run. There's a tunnel under your shop that leads to the lower levels. You could escape. And leave you here? No, they are not here for you. They are here for me. If you stay, you will die." Danny turned to look at her. His face was calm. His eyes were steady. "Then I will die. But I will not abandon you, Sira. I made a promise." Sira opened her mouth to argue, but before she could speak, the front door exploded inward. Danny was thrown across the room by the force of the blast. He hit the wall hard and fell to the floor. His ears were ringing. His vision was blurry. He could taste blood in his mouth. But he forced himself to stand up. He forced himself to put his body between Sira and the soldiers who were now pouring into his shop. "Stay back," he shouted, his voice rough and broken. "Do not touch her." The soldiers stopped. They did not attack. They simply stood there, their weapons pointed at Danny, waiting for something. Then the crowd of black armor parted, and a woman walked through. She was young, maybe 25 years old. She had a face that was beautiful and cold, like a statue carved from ice. Her eyes were dark and fierce, filled with a power that made Danny's knees weak. She wore armor too, but hers was pure white, bright as fresh snow against the black of her soldiers. A circlet of gold rested on her brow. Danny knew who she was. Everyone in the galaxy knew who she was. He had seen her face on news broadcasts and government announcements 1,000 times. Princess Yuna of the Imperial House, daughter of the Emperor, third in line to the throne of the Galactic Empire. She stood in the ruins of Danny's shop and looked at him with those cold, dark eyes. Her face showed no emotion. Her voice was hard as stone. "You," she said, pointing at him. "Identify yourself." Danny's mouth was dry. His hands were shaking, but he stood his ground. He did not move away from Sarah. "My name is Danny Park," he said. "I am a mechanic. This is my shop, and you are not welcome here." The soldiers moved forward, ready to strike him down for his disrespect. But Princess Yuna raised her hand, and they stopped instantly. "A mechanic," she repeated. Her eyes moved from Danny to Sarah, who stood behind him with her golden eyes full of fear. "A mechanic who repaired a royal protocol unit. A mechanic who did what my best engineers said was impossible." "I fix things," Danny said simply. "That is what I do. And you charge nothing for this repair. You asked for no payment. You did it for free." Danny blinked in surprise. "How do you know that?" Princess Yuna's cold expression cracked, just a little. Something that might have been curiosity flickered in her dark eyes. "Because Sarah told me," she said. A backup transmitter activated the moment her systems came online. "She has been sending me reports for 3 days. I know everything that happened. I know everything you did. I know everything you said." She took a step closer to Danny, and the soldiers around her tensed. "I know that you worked through the night without rest. I know that you used parts that should not have worked together. I know that you talked to her while she was unconscious, telling her stories, telling her that everything would be okay. I know that you refused to take payment because someone once showed you kindness when you were broken." Danny felt his face grow hot. He had not known that Sarah was sending reports. He had not known that anyone was listening. "I came here to see for myself," Princess Yuna continued. "I came here to meet the human who saved my dearest friend. The human who, without knowing it, saved an empire." She stopped directly in front of Danny. They were close enough to touch. Close enough that Danny could see the tiny golden threads woven into her white armor. Close enough that he could smell the scent of flowers that clung to her skin. "Tell me, Danny Park," she said softly. "Why did you do it?" Danny looked into her eyes. He saw the coldness there, yes. But beneath the coldness, he saw something else. He saw loneliness. He saw pain. He saw a young woman who had been taught that everyone in the galaxy wanted something from her, that kindness was always a trap. That trust was always a weakness. He understood that feeling very well. "Because it was the right thing to do," he said simply. "That is all. That is the only reason." Princess Yuna stared at him for a long moment. The whole room was silent. The soldiers did not move. Sarah did not breathe. The world itself seemed to hold its breath. Then, slowly, Princess Yuna smiled, and everything changed. Princess Yuna's smile changed everything about her face. The coldness melted away like ice in sunlight. The hardness softened into something warm and real. For just a moment, she was not a princess of the imperial house. She was just a young woman, tired and grateful and amazed by something she had never seen before. Then the moment passed. The mask came back. The smile faded into a calm expression that showed nothing. But Danny had seen it. And he knew that beneath all that royal armor, there was a human heart. "Lower your weapons," Princess Yuna commanded. Her soldiers obeyed instantly. Their energy lances powered down with a soft hum. They stepped back from Danny and Sarah, giving them space. Yuna turned to face Sarah. The droid bowed deeply, her silver head almost touching the floor. "Your Highness," Sarah said, her musical voice trembling with emotion. "I have failed you. I was supposed to deliver the evidence safely. Instead, I was captured and nearly destroyed. I am not worthy of your trust. Rise, Sarah, Una said gently. You did not fail. The evidence you carried reached us. Your backup transmitter sent everything the moment your systems came back online. We received the data 3 days ago. Sarah raised her head, her golden eyes wide with surprise. The data was received? Yes, and because of that data, we have arrested all 3 traitors on the High Council. They are in prison now, waiting for trial. Their conspiracy has been exposed. Their plans have been destroyed. The Emperor is safe. Sarah's legs seemed to weaken. She would have fallen if Danny had not caught her arm and held her steady. It is over, Sarah whispered. It is truly over. It is over because of you, Una said. And because of him. She turned to look at Danny again. Her dark eyes studied him carefully, like she was trying to solve a puzzle that did not make sense. Walk with me, she said. It was not a request. Danny hesitated for just a moment. Then he followed her outside into the street where hundreds of soldiers stood at attention. The people of Kepler 7 watched from their windows and doorways, too afraid to come out but too curious to look away. Princess Una walked slowly, her white armor shining in the pale light. Danny walked beside her, very aware of how dirty and small he must look next to such a powerful person. My engineers examined the data that Sarah sent us, Una said as they walked. They were confused. They said that Sarah's damage was irreparable. They said her core matrix had been corrupted beyond recovery. They said that no technology in the Empire could have saved her. Danny said nothing. He just walked and listened. But you did save her, Una continued. You used parts from cheap machines. You combined technologies that should not work together. You rebuilt her processor, using methods that no one has ever seen before. My engineers studied your repair work and called it impossible. They called it magic. They called it a miracle. It was not magic, Danny said quietly. It was just stubbornness. I refused to give up. Una stopped walking. They stood in the middle of the street, surrounded by soldiers, but somehow alone. Why? She asked. The question was simple, but her voice was heavy with something deeper. Why did you refuse to give up? You did not know who Sarah was. You did not know what she was carrying. You had no reason to spend your whole night fighting to save a stranger. You could have taken her parts and sold them for a fortune. You could have turned her over to the assassins for a reward. You could have simply walked away and let her die. Any reasonable person would have done one of those things. Danny thought about the question for a long moment. He thought about his life. He thought about all the broken things he had fixed. He thought about the stranger who had helped him when he was young and alone and had nothing. When I was a boy, he said slowly, I lived on the streets. I had no home. I had no food. I was dying, and I knew it. One night, a woman found me in an alley. She was poor too. She had almost nothing, but she gave me her last piece of bread. She gave me a blanket. She sat with me through the cold night and told me stories to keep me awake. He paused, remembering. In the morning, she was gone. I never saw her again. I never learned her name. I never had the chance to thank her. But because of her, I survived. Because of one small act of kindness from a stranger, I lived. He looked at Princess Una with clear, honest eyes. I have spent my whole life trying to be like that woman. Trying to help people who have nothing. Trying to fix things that everyone else has given up on. Not because I want rewards. Not because I want fame. Just because that is what she would have done. Just because that is the right thing to do. Princess Una was quiet for a very long time. Danny could see that his words had affected her. A cold mask had cracked again, and beneath it, he could see something raw and vulnerable. In the imperial court, she said finally, everyone wants something. Every kind word hides a request. Every gift comes with strings attached. I have been surrounded by people my whole life, but I have always been alone. I have never met anyone who did something simply because it was right. I was beginning to believe that such people did not exist. She reached up and removed the golden circlet from her brow. Without it, she looked younger, more human, more tired. And then Sarah sent me your story, she continued. She told me about the mechanic who fixed her for free. The mechanic who talked to her through the night. The mechanic who stood in front of armed soldiers to protect her. I did not believe it at first. I thought it must be a trick. I thought you must want something. That is why I came here in person. That is why I brought my entire royal guard. I came to find the truth. And what truth did you find? Danny asked. Una looked at him. Her dark eyes were soft now, almost gentle. I found something I had given up hope of finding. I found a good man. A truly good man. In a galaxy full of liars and thieves and selfish people. I found someone who proves that kindness is not dead. That compassion is not weakness. That humanity is not lost. Danny felt embarrassed by her words. He was not used to praise. He was not used to being seen. I am just a mechanic, he said awkwardly. I fix things. That is all. No, Una said firmly. You are much more than that. You are proof that the universe still has hope. She put the circlet back on her head and straightened her shoulders. The princess returned, cold and powerful and royal. But something in her eyes had changed forever. Danny Park, she said formally, her voice carrying across the silent street. You have done a great service to the Imperial House. You have saved the life of my dearest companion. You have helped expose traitors who would have destroyed the Empire. You have shown courage and compassion in the face of impossible odds. She raised her voice so that everyone could hear. The soldiers, the people hiding in their homes, the whole station. For these acts, I hereby declare you a friend of the Imperial House. Your name will be recorded in the great archives. Your deeds will be remembered for 1,000 years. From this day forward, you are under the personal protection of the crown. Any who harm you will answer to me. Danny stood frozen, unable to speak. This was too much. This was too big. He was just a mechanic in a dirty shop on a forgotten station. He did not belong in the same sentence as empires and princesses. But before he could protest, Una stepped close to him. So close that only he could hear her next words. And Danny, she said softly, all the coldness gone from her voice. Thank you. From the bottom of my heart. Thank you for saving my friend. Then she turned and walked back toward the ship. Her white armor shining like a star in the darkness, and Danny stood alone in the street, wondering how his simple life had become so complicated. The soldiers began to leave. One by one, they marched back toward the Imperial carrier, their black armor disappearing into the massive ship like shadows returning to the darkness. The people of Kepler-7 slowly came out of their homes, whispering to each other, staring at Danny with wide eyes. But Danny did not notice them. He was still standing in the street, his mind spinning, trying to understand everything that had just happened. Sarah came to stand beside him. Her golden eyes were bright with joy. You did it, she said softly. You saved me. You saved the Empire. And you asked for nothing in return. I did not do anything special, Danny said. I just fixed a broken machine. Sarah smiled at him. It was a warm smile, full of affection and gratitude. You did so much more than that, Danny. You showed me that there is still goodness in the galaxy. You showed me that kindness is not dead. You gave me hope. Before Danny could respond, Princess Una returned. She was not alone. 2 soldiers walked behind her, carrying a large metal chest between them. Danny Park, Una said formally. The Imperial House does not forget those who serve it. You refused payment for your work. You asked for nothing. But we cannot let such a debt go unpaid. The soldiers set the chest down and opened it. Danny's breath caught in his throat. Inside the chest were credits. More credits than Danny had ever seen in his life. Enough credits to buy 100 ships. Enough credits to live like a king for 100 years. The sight of so much wealth made him dizzy, but Danny shook his head. "No," he said firmly. "I cannot accept this." The soldiers looked shocked. Even Sarah looked surprised. No one refused gifts from the imperial house. It was unheard of. Princess Yuna tilted her head, curious. "You refuse our payment? Why?" "Because I did not help Sarah for money," Danny said. "I helped her because she was hurt and scared and needed someone. If I take this payment, it changes what I did. It makes it a transaction instead of an act of kindness. I cannot accept that." Yuna studied him for a long moment. Then, slowly, she nodded. "I understand," she said, "and I respect your choice. But the debt remains. The imperial house must repay what it owes." She gestured, and the soldiers closed the chest and carried it away. Then Yuna reached into her armor and pulled out something small. It was a medallion made of gold, shaped like a sun with rays spreading out in all directions. In the center of the sun was a symbol that Danny recognized from Sarah's chest. The symbol of the imperial house. "If you will not accept wealth," Yuna said, "then accept this." She placed the medallion in Danny's hand. It was warm, almost alive with some kind of inner energy. "This is the seal of the crown. It marks you as a true friend of the imperial house. It grants you passage to any imperial world, on any imperial ship, at any time. It gives you the right to speak directly to any member of the royal family. It means that wherever you go in the galaxy, you will be protected and honored." Danny looked at the medallion. It felt heavy in his hand. Heavy with responsibility. Heavy with meaning. "I do not need this," he said quietly. "Perhaps not," Yuna agreed. "But you have earned it. And someday, you may find a use for it." She closed his fingers around the medallion. "Keep it, as a reminder that your kindness mattered. That your compassion changed the course of history." Sarah stepped forward and embraced Danny. Her metal arms were surprisingly gentle. Her silver body was warm against his chest. "I will never forget you," she whispered. "For as long as I exist, I will remember the mechanic who saved my life, who talked to me through the darkness, who refused to give up on me." Danny hugged her back, feeling tears prick at his eyes. He had not cried in many years. He had learned long ago to keep his emotions locked away. But this moment was too big, too important. He let the tears fall. "Take care of yourself, Sarah," he said. "And take care of her." He nodded toward Princess Yuna. "I think she needs a friend as much as you do." Sarah pulled back and smiled. "I will, I promise." Princess Yuna watched this exchange with an expression that Danny could not read. When Sarah stepped away, Yuna moved closer to Danny. "You have given me a gift today," she said quietly. "Not the gift of saving Sarah, though that is precious beyond words. You have given me something more valuable. You have given me hope." "Hope for what?" "Hope for humanity," Yuna said. "Your species is young. In the scale of the galaxy, you are children. You have no great armies. You have no ancient wisdom. You have no powerful technologies. Many of the elder races look down on you. They think you are weak. They think you are foolish. They think you will destroy yourselves before you ever matter." She paused, her dark eyes intense. "But I have seen something different today. I have seen that humans possess a power that no other species has. The power to care about strangers. The power to sacrifice for people they have never met. The power to show mercy and kindness in a universe that rewards only strength." Danny did not know what to say. He had never thought of himself as representing all of humanity. He was just one man. One broken man who fixed broken machines. The elder races built their empires through conquest and fear, Yuna continued. They expanded through war and domination. But humans built through connection, through compassion, through the simple, stubborn belief that everyone deserves a chance. She took a step back and looked at him with something like wonder. I believe that humanity will surprise the galaxy one day. I believe that your species will rise to heights that no one expects. And when that day comes, I hope that the Empire will call you friends instead of enemies. She bowed then. A deep, formal bow, the kind that royalty gave only to equals. Danny stood frozen, unable to believe what was happening. A princess of the Galactic Empire was bowing to him. A mechanic. A nobody. Thank you, Danny Park, Yuna said as she straightened. For everything. Then she turned and walked away, Sira at her side. The soldiers fell into formation around them. The crowd parted to let them pass. And slowly, step by step, they disappeared into the massive carrier. The ship's engines roared to life. The ground shook. The air filled with heat and thunder. And then the carrier rose into the sky. Up through the clouds, up into the darkness of space. Until it was nothing but a tiny point of light among the stars. Danny stood alone in the street, the golden medallion clutched in his hand. Around him, the people of Kepler-7 stared in amazement. They would tell this story for generations. The story of the mechanic who fixed a broken droid and was visited by a princess. But Danny did not care about stories. He did not care about fame or honor or the seal of the crown. He cared about one thing only. He cared that he had done the right thing. He walked back to his shop, stepping over the broken door, picking his way through the rubble. The place was a mess. It would take weeks to repair. He would have to rebuild almost everything, but that was okay. Rebuilding was what Danny did best. He sat down in his old chair and looked at the medallion one more time. Then he tucked it into his pocket, picked up his tools, and got to work. There were always broken things that needed fixing. There were always people who needed help. There was always kindness to be given, even when the universe seemed dark and cold. That was the secret power of humanity. Not strength, not technology, not cunning or wealth or influence, just a simple, stubborn, beautiful belief that everyone and everything deserved a chance to be whole again. And as long as people like Danny existed, the galaxy would always have hope.